It's very early in the morning in old Japan. So early, in fact, that even the roosters are still thinking about whether it's worth getting up yet. The world is quiet, almost holding its breath. If you were standing outside an Edo period home around this time, you'd see nothing but the faintest gray light peeking through paper screens. The air is cool, with that kind of sharp freshness that makes you want to wrap your blanket tighter before facing the day. The wooden beams creak softly as the house breathes with the night wind. A dog might bark somewhere down the road. Then think better of it and go back to sleep. Inside, everyone's still under their futons. You can almost picture it, the family lying side by side, little puffs of breath rising in the dim light. The futons are thick and heavy, made of cotton stuffing. They smell faintly of smoke from the hearth and fresh straw from the tatami mats underneath. It's not fancy, but it's warm, and that's what matters when winter mornings come early and cold. Homes back then didn't have glass windows or loud alarm clocks. No glowing phone screens, just silence and the slow, natural change of light. People learned to wake with the world instead of fighting it. The first sign of morning wasn't a ringtone, it was the sound of a crow in the distance, or a single beam of sunlight sliding through the shoji door. The house itself was alive in its own way. The floorboards made soft cracking noises as they adjusted to the chill. The paper doors fluttered slightly when a breeze passed through the cracks. Even the kettle in the corner, an old iron pot from the night before, gave a faint, sleepy rattle as it waited to be filled again. Everything in the house seemed to stretch and yawn. Before anyone moves, there's a pause. That precious moment where the night hasn't fully left and the day hasn't quite arrived. The air feels like a held breath. If you were there, you'd almost hesitate to make a sound, afraid to break the spell. Then, from one side of the room, a rustle. A quiet sigh. Someone sits up. The mother, most likely. She's the first to wake every single morning, without fail. Her hair is tied roughly with a small ribbon. She doesn't look glamorous, but she looks comfortable, which might be better. She folds her bedding neatly and tucks it away, careful not to wake the others. The floor is cold on her bare feet. She winces a little, a soft, familiar pain she feels every morning, and then she heads toward the small hearth in the center of the house. The hearth, called the irori, is basically a square pit built into the floor, filled with ash and charcoal. It's where all warmth begins. She stirs the ashes gently, using a small bamboo stick, then adds a piece or two of dry wood. The fire crackles awake, sending a few lazy sparks upward. The glow spreads slowly, painting the wooden walls in shades of amber. She sits there for a moment, hands over the warmth, face soft with thought. Maybe she's thinking about the rice she'll cook later. Or maybe she's just enjoying 5 quiet minutes before the noise of life begins. Soon, the faint smell of smoke seeps through the room. Not harsh, but cozy. It mixes with the faint sweetness of tatami straw and the cool air from outside. In the corner, the father stirs. He grumbles something, not quite words, then rolls over. He knows it's time, but he's pretending it's not. The children are still deep in dreams, one of them clutching a wooden toy horse that's missing a leg. The house feels suspended in a sleepy kind of peace. Outside, the first hint of color brushes the horizon. The sky goes from black to blue to that soft silvery gray that means dawn is serious this time. A rooster finally makes up its mind and lets out a loud, heroic crow, a little too proud for this hour. Somewhere, a neighbor coughs. Another stirs a pot. The world begins to hum. The father finally gives in. He sits up, rubbing his eyes with both hands, and gives a small grunt of surrender to the morning. He slides the door open with a quiet shk, the sound of wood and paper that's so familiar you'd know it anywhere. Cool air rushes in, and with it the smell of wet earth. He steps outside, barefoot on the wooden veranda, and stretches his arms wide. The world feels fresh. The tiny garden out back glistens with dew, drops hanging from every blade of grass like tiny lanterns. The well stands quietly near the corner, and beside it, a wooden bucket with rope coiled neatly beside it. He lowers the bucket, listening to the rope creak, then the splash as it hits the water below. That splash, deep, echoing, might be the most beautiful sound at all at that hour. When he pulls it back up, the water looks almost silver in the faint light. He carries it inside, careful not to spill a drop. The mother thanks him with a small smile. No words, just that quiet morning understanding between two people who've shared the same rhythm for years. She takes the water to rinse the rice for breakfast. You can hear the gentle swirl of grains in the bowl, the clinking sound as they tumble softly against ceramic. Soon, the house is alive. Not loud, but moving. One child yawns dramatically. You know, the kind of yawn that says, "I didn't ask to be awake." Another rolls out of their futon and immediately gets tangled in it. The mother chuckles quietly while pretending not to notice. The smell of tea begins to fill the air. Green, earthy, comforting. A new day has begun, though it feels less like a start and more like a continuation. The same gentle cycle, repeated for generations. There's no rush, no alarms, no racing thoughts. Just small, simple movements that keep life going. Folding bedding, stirring rice, opening doors to let in light. Outside, the sun finally rises over the tiled rooftops. The neighborhood glows softly, the mist lifting from the ground like a shy spirit. From a nearby house, you can hear someone sweeping their front step. The faint, rhythmic swish, swish sound becomes part of the morning music. The father takes a sip of tea, squinting at the light, and lets out a contented little hum. "Good fire today," he says. The mother nods, pretending not to smile at his tiny boast. And just like that, the silence of the night becomes the quiet of the morning. Different, but equally peaceful. The kind of calm that doesn't need words or plans, just being alive, together, in a house that holds warmth and history in its wooden bones. If you listen closely, you can still hear the heartbeat of that home, the soft crackle of the fire, the creak of wood, the faint laughter of children somewhere under the roof. The world of Edo, Japan has begun to move, slowly, gently, just as it has for hundreds of years. And somewhere, beneath all the sounds, the silence still lingers, just enough to remind everyone that peace isn't something you chase. It's already there, waiting quietly before dawn. The first light of morning slips through the paper screens like a shy guest, not quite sure if it's welcome yet. It doesn't rush in. It just glows there, gentle and pale, laying over the tatami floor like a soft blanket of gold. Inside, the air still holds the chill from the night. You can almost see it, a thin fog of breath floating above the futons. The house smells faintly of smoke, rice husks, and last night's tea leaves. The mother moves first again, because of course she does. She always does. She's not in a hurry, but her body knows the rhythm by heart. A quiet sigh, a stretch, the rustle of cotton sleeves. She kneels to slide the shoji door open, and the sound, that little wooden shk, is the first note of the day. Cool air flows in, carrying the earthy scent of the yard outside. There's dew on the stepping stones, and a sparrow hops along the edge of the veranda, head twitching like it's got secrets to tell. The sparrow chirps. She sits there for a moment, just watching. The garden is still. A low mist hangs over the moss, and the sky has turned that soft blue-gray that looks like watercolor. It's a quiet beauty, Not the kind that shouts, but the kind that hums under your breath. The father finally gives up pretending to sleep. He stretches with the sound of every joint in his back announcing itself. He doesn't say anything, just grunts once, a universal dad greeting. The mother passes him a cup of tea, already warm, already perfect. She didn't even need to ask if he wanted one. The kettle sings faint and steady. The water inside trembles, little ripples catching the morning light. She pours it over the leaves, and the smell of green tea fills the air, sharp at first, then mellow. It's not a luxury here, it's just the way mornings are supposed to smell. The children are slower to rise. One rolls over and buries their face deeper in the pillow. The other squints against the light and groans in that dramatic way only kids can manage. 5 more minutes, the little one mumbles, which, of course, wasn't a phrase anyone said in 18th-century Japan, but the feeling was probably the same. The mother chuckles softly. If you don't get up, the rice will be cold. That's motivation enough. Slowly, reluctantly, they wriggle free from their futons, hair sticking in every possible direction. The day begins with small sounds, gentle ones. The clinking of wooden bowls, the splash of water in a basin, the faint scrape of chopsticks being set down. Each sound blends with the next until the whole house seems to hum with life again. The father steps outside to the well, bucket in hand. The air bites a little, but he doesn't mind. Rope creaking, bucket splashing. He lowers the bucket, listening to the hollow splash, then hauls it up again. The water glints silver in the sunlight. When he carries it back, a few drops spill and darken the wooden boards underfoot. Inside, the mother rinses rice. She moves the grains through her fingers, listening to the soft swirl of water. The sound is steady and calming, like a whisper. The clear water turns cloudy, then clear again as she repeats the motion. The oldest child folds the futons, though folds might be too generous. It's more of a careful shove into place. The youngest child pretends to help by patting the pillow down, very seriously, as if that's the most important task in the world. The mother doesn't correct them. She knows it's good enough. Breakfast begins quietly. No rush, no chatter about work or errands, just eating, together, slowly, like it matters. The rice is soft and steaming, the miso soup mild and warm. There's a small dish of pickles that sparkle in the morning light, and a few slices of daikon that crunch softly when bitten. The father takes a sip of soup, nods once, and says, "Good miso." He says this every morning. The mother smiles and answers, "Same miso as yesterday." He nods again, satisfied. Some routines never change. After breakfast, the family moves about the house in a quiet rhythm. The children sweep the entryway with straw brooms that are almost taller than they are. The father checks the roof beam for loose tiles. The mother folds laundry and hums under her breath, the tune old and slow, like something passed down from her own mother. Out in the street, the neighborhood begins to wake too. You can hear the faint call of a tofu vendor pushing his cart, the wheels squeaking on the dirt road. "Tofu!" he sings, dragging out the last note like a sleepy opera singer. Somewhere, a dog barks at nothing. The air smells faintly of smoke and soy sauce. Inside, the youngest child has found a cricket. It's sitting quietly on the veranda, and the child crouches down to watch it. "He's not moving," they whisper. The father leans down, serious face. He says, "He's thinking." The child nods, accepting this as solid fact. The cricket eventually hops away, and everyone feels oddly proud of it. The light in the house has changed now. It's no longer gray or shy, it's golden, steady, filling every corner. Dust motes drift lazily in the air, catching the sunlight like tiny stars. The warmth seeps into the tatami mats, and for a moment the whole home feels like it's glowing from within. The mother opens the back screen door to let the air flow through. The breeze moves slowly, carrying with it the smell of pine from the woods beyond the neighborhood. The curtains flutter, paper rustling softly against wood. She pauses to look out at the small garden. There's a stone lantern near the corner, still damp from dew, and a single camellia bloom has opened overnight. She smiles at it like it's an old friend she's been waiting for. Morning in Edo, Japan doesn't rush. It just unfolds, one breath at a time, one movement after another. There's a kind of peace in knowing every day begins the same way. Not boring peace, but comforting peace. The kind that reminds you that life can be full even when it's quiet. The father steps back inside, wiping his hands. He says, "Good day for work." "Every day is good for work," the mother replies, teasing just enough to make him grin. The children giggle, and for a second the house fills with laughter. Not loud, but warm. The kind that stays in the air even after it fades. The sound of the tea kettle has quieted now. The rice pot is empty. Outside, the sunlight reaches higher, stretching across rooftops. The sparrow from earlier returns, bold and curious, landing on the veranda railing. It tilts its head at the family as if inspecting their morning efforts. And then, just like that, the quiet resumes. Not silence, never that, but a softer hum. The day has started, and everyone knows what comes next. There's wood to chop, floors to sweep, fabric to mend. But for now, there's just this, a moment suspended in golden light, calm and ordinary and good. The house breathes again, slow and steady. Morning has arrived, properly this time, and in the quiet corners of the Edo home, life begins its graceful, peaceful rhythm, the same one it's kept for centuries. Welcome back to another quiet corner of the past. Tonight, we sit by the hearth of an Edo home, where breakfast isn't just food. It's a small, daily ritual of calm, the kind of moment that moves slowly enough for your mind to wander and maybe drift a little toward sleep. The family gathers around the irori, the sunken hearth in the center of the main room. It's not grand or glowing like a Western fireplace. It's smaller, humbler, more practical. A square pit lined with ash, holding the faint orange shimmer of a low-burning fire. The smoke drifts lazily upward through a gap in the roof beams. You can see it catch in the morning light, a thin, silver thread climbing into the rafters. It smells like pine and old wood, and 100 mornings before this one. The father leans forward, stirring the embers with an iron rod. Sparks pop quietly, flashing for a second before vanishing. The warmth spreads slowly, soaking into the air, the floor, the bones. The mother sets down a wooden tray, simple but beautiful in its own way, lacquered black with faint scratches that tell their own story. On it sits a pot of miso soup, still steaming. Next to it, a bowl of rice, white and perfect, and a few slices of pickled radish that catch the light like tiny yellow moons. Breakfast isn't grand here. It doesn't have to be. It's nourishment, rhythm, and comfort, all in one. The mother ladles soup into small bowls, careful and steady. The sound is soft, like rain in the distance. The aroma, a blend of fermented soybean and kelp, fills the air. The youngest child wrinkles their nose, pretending to protest. The father raises an eyebrow. "You liked it yesterday." I liked it less today, the child replies. The mother hides a smile. She knows that's just morning talk. She places a small dish of nori, dried seaweed, near the edge of the tray. It looks crisp and dark, waiting to be dipped or folded over rice. The father, ever deliberate, picks up his chopsticks and gives a small, polite nod before taking his first bite. Soft sip of soup. The sound of everyone eating is somehow peaceful, a series of quiet movements, not conversation. The gentle tapping of chopsticks, the faint sigh when someone swallows warm tea. It's less a meal and more a shared silence. Outside, a rooster crows somewhere in the neighborhood. Not loud enough to disturb anyone, just a faint reminder that the world beyond the walls is waking too. The morning light shifts again, golden now, pouring through the paper screens. The children sit cross-legged, each trying to copy their parents' calm, formal posture. It lasts maybe 10 seconds. Then one of them starts folding the edge of their nori into shapes, a boat maybe, a mountain. The other child tries to balance a pickle slice on their chopsticks like a seesaw. The father pretends not to notice. The mother looks up from her bowl. She says, "Eat it, not play with it." But there's a softness in her tone, not scolding, just amused. She turns back to the fire and adds a small piece of charcoal. The new flame flares, and for a moment the hearth glows brighter. A faint hiss rises as the wood catches. The warmth spreads again, and a sleepy cat that's been curled up nearby opens one lazy eye, decides nothing has changed, and drifts back into dreaming. Soft purring, crackling fire. The earth isn't just for warmth or cooking, it's the heart of the home. Everything happens around it. Meals, talk, mending clothes, the children's quiet play. It's the one place that always feels alive, even when everything else is still. Sometimes, neighbors stop by to share tea and news. Sometimes the father sits there after sunset, just watching the coals fade, lost in thought. There's a comfort in knowing that no matter what changes outside, the weather, the seasons, the price of rice, the fire stays steady. The family finishes their meal one by one. The youngest pushes away an empty bowl with a proud sigh, as if they've just completed something heroic. The father wipes his hands and stretches, joints cracking in the familiar morning way. The mother gathers the bowls, stacking them carefully, each movement small and precise. The children watch her, quiet now, like they've remembered the rhythm of the house, slow, calm, deliberate. She carries the dishes to a wooden basin near the corner. The water she poured earlier is still cool. She cleans each bowl in silence, the sound of her hands swishing through the water, blending with the faint crackle of the fire behind her. The father tidies the hearth, pushing ash into neat patterns with a bamboo scoop. He moves with the kind of care people have when they do something every day, the same way, for years. You can tell he finds peace in the routine. The children have settled by the veranda now, watching dust motes float through the sunlight. "It looks like snow," one of them whispers. The other nods solemnly, "Summer snow." The mother glances over and smiles. She says, "That's ash, not snow," without looking up from her work. But they don't mind. In their small world, even floating ash can be beautiful. When the bowls are clean, she sets them upside down on a cloth to dry. The house feels different now, lighter somehow. The chores are done, the air warm, the morning properly started. The father stands and steps outside to look at the sky. He says, "Clear today, maybe rain tomorrow." The mother hums in agreement. She's not listening for weather so much as a rhythm, the gentle flow of another ordinary morning passing by. The hearth still glows, embers faintly alive, waiting for the next meal, the next moment of togetherness. The smoke drifts lazily again, finding its way up through the beams.
The cat stirs, stretches, then curls closer to the heat. The children whisper quietly, still inventing little games from what's around them, bits of ash, twigs, folded paper. The world outside will soon call for work, fields to tend, errands to run, neighbors to greet. But right now, inside this home, time moves in soft circles. And as the last traces of breakfast fade, the house seems to breathe once more, steady, content, endless the same. Gentle fire crackling fades into silence. The morning meal ends not with fullness, but with quiet satisfaction, the kind that doesn't rush away. In the quiet homes of Edo, even the simplest bowl of rice carried a peace that could fill a whole day.
The morning has stretched itself wide now. Inside the house, breakfast is done, the hearth hums softly, and the day begins to spill out through the sliding doors. Outside, the street is waking, not quickly, but in that quiet, steady way that makes you want to slow down just to listen. The house sits along a narrow dirt road, like most homes in Edo. It's not grand or paved or busy, just a simple path lined with wooden fences, small gardens, and the occasional stray chicken. The air smells faintly of charcoal and damp earth, the kind of smell that tells you the day's going to be warm. The father steps out first, tying the sash of his kimono, ready for work. His sandals crunch softly against the packed dirt. The sound echoes gently down the lane, blending with the far-off creak of cartwheels. The street isn't noisy, not really. It's just alive. There's the tofu seller again, his voice floating through the air like a drawn-out song. Tofu! The note rises and falls, the rhythm so familiar that no one even looks up. They just know. Tofu is passing by. All is right in the world. A little farther down, the firewood merchant drags his cart, bundles stacked high. He stops near a house and knocks politely on the gatepost. The lady of the home steps out, exchanges a few coins, and nods. No bargaining, no rush, just the same simple trade they've done 100 times before. The air carries the faint smell of miso soup from one home and grilled fish from another. Somewhere, someone is sweeping their doorway, that rhythmic, gentle sound of straw bristles brushing over wood. The mother steps outside to hang the morning laundry. She moves slowly, one cloth at a time, smoothing each piece with her palms before pinning it on the line. The breeze catches the fabric, making it flutter like paper cranes. Across the lane, an old man waters his plants. The bamboo ladle dips into the bucket, and the water falls with a soft splash over moss and herbs. He hums something tuneless, maybe a lullaby from long ago. The children are at the edge of the veranda now, watching everything. The world outside feels bigger than usual. They wave at the tofu man, who waves back without missing a step. One of them points to the firewood bundles. They look heavy. The father nods. They are. The child thinks for a moment, then says, "Maybe I'll sell air. It's lighter." The father chuckles, and the idea seems perfectly reasonable to both of them. Farther down the street, a group of women gather near the well. Their conversation floats through the air like a string of wind chimes. They talk about the weather, the price of vegetables, and whose cat knocked over whose flower pot. None of it's urgent, but all of it matters in its own way. One woman leans over the well to draw water, her sleeves tied back neatly. The rope creaks, and the bucket splashes. A dragonfly lands on the wooden edge for just a second before darting away. The sound of small, ordinary things fills the space, soft, repetitive, comforting. The father starts walking down the street, heading toward the small shop where he works. The mother bows slightly from the doorway, a quiet send-off. He lifts his hand in return, not quite a wave, just a gesture that says, "See you at sunset." The children sit cross-legged now, playing a quiet game with pebbles. They line them up, count them, move them again, and somehow it's endlessly entertaining. Each pebble gets a name. One is mountain, another is fish. One, slightly larger, is named King of the Rocks. The mother keeps an eye on them while she sweeps the veranda. Dust rises in tiny golden clouds, glowing in the sunlight before drifting away. The broom makes that soft shh sound, steady and slow. Down the lane, a pair of monks walk past, heads shaved smooth, robes the color of old stone. They move silently, barefoot, carrying small begging bowls. The sound of their sandals against the dirt is almost part of the breeze. The mother pauses, bows politely as they pass. One monk gives a faint nod, eyes calm, smile nearly invisible, but real. The children watch in awe. "Are they ghosts?" one whispers. The mother shakes her head. "Just travelers of the spirit." The child nods, not understanding, but liking the mystery of it anyway. The street carries on. A dog trots lazily across the path. A merchant adjusts the ropes on his cart. A woman balances a basket of vegetables on her hip, humming under her breath. Nothing is urgent, nothing rushed. Edo mornings are slow by nature. Time seems to flow like the Konda River nearby, steady and unhurried. When the morning chores are done, and the street outside hums with gentle movement, the quiet heart of the Edo home belongs to the children. Their world is smaller than ours, but somehow it feels wider, full of tiny adventures, patient games, and moments that stretch like sunlight over tatami mats. The day begins for them not with work, but with a small kind of freedom. The parents are busy, the neighborhood is calm, and the air outside is soft and bright. The older child carries a short broom, taller than they are, and sweeps the veranda in slow, careful strokes. The younger one trails behind with a handful of leaves, pretending to help. Every so often, the little one stops to inspect a pebble, a twig, or a bug making its slow way across the ground. Each new discovery feels like a secret. "Look," they whisper. "He's walking home." The older one nods gravely, as if this bug journey is of great importance. Their chores are light but steady, folding small towels, fetching water, tidying up their shoes by the doorway. None of it's done perfectly, but that's not the point. It's just how they learn the rhythm of home. The mother watches quietly from inside, pretending not to notice when they spill a little water or leave a towel uneven. Every mistake is small enough to be charming. She hums as she works, and the sound blends with the faint rustle of the wind. When the chores are finished, or at least declared finished, the real part of the day begins. The children run barefoot to the yard, their laughter small but bright. The ground is cool underfoot, the kind of cool that reminds you the world is still waking. They find their toys, simple things, but enough. A spinning top, carved from wood and painted in fading colors, a paper ball, soft and light, patched from old scraps of rice paper. The oldest gives it a gentle toss, and it drifts slowly through the air, wobbling before it lands in the grass. The youngest claps like it's the greatest feat in history. For a while, they play like this, tossing, chasing, tumbling. The world shrinks to the size of their laughter.
Then, inevitably, one of them decides the top will spin better on the veranda. It doesn't. It wobbles for 3 seconds and falls over. "He's tired," says the younger child, patting it gently. "Maybe he wants a nap." The older one nods in agreement. The mother smiles from the doorway. "You two sound just like the top. All spin, no direction." The older child grins. "We're practicing." "For what?" "For spinning better tomorrow." The mother just laughs and shakes her head. "Then don't spin too much today." As the sun rises higher, the air grows warmer. The street hums softly again, the sound of sandals passing by, of neighbors talking near the well. The children wander a little, just to the edge of the lane. They know not to go far. Everyone does. Near the gate, they stop to watch a beetle climb the wooden post. It's shiny and determined, legs gripping tight as it makes its way up. The younger child cheers it on. "Go, go, go!" The beetle pauses halfway, maybe reconsidering its life choices, then keeps going. The older one nods wisely. "He's strong, like father." A tofu seller passes again. The same slow song as always. "Tofu, whoa, 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 whoa." The sound makes the younger child hungry, even though breakfast wasn't long ago. "I want tofu." The older one shakes her head. "You always want tofu." "It's soft," the little one says, like that explains everything. Back in the house, the mother has started mending clothes near the hearth. She can hear their voices through the open door, their chatter mixing with the soft snap of thread. She smiles, knowing exactly where they are without needing to look. Sometimes the father returns briefly before midday to collect tools or a forgotten coin pouch. When he does, the children swarm around him like he's come back from a grand voyage. He squats down to their level, pulls a small sweet from his sleeve, a bit of candied chestnut, and breaks it in half. Half each. The children accept it with the seriousness of an ancient ritual. They bow, then sit side by side to eat it, tiny bites, stretching it as long as possible. After a while, they grow quiet again. The warmth from the sun seeps through the veranda, making everything feel slower, heavier. The cat has returned to its favorite corner, curled into a neat circle. The younger child yawns. The mother looks up from her sewing. "Nap time?" she asks softly. "No," the older one insists. "We're just resting." The younger nods, eyes already half closed. Resting. Within minutes, both are asleep. One sprawled like a starfish, the other curled beside them, clutching the paper ball. The breeze stirs their hair, and the sound of the street drifts gently through the open doorway. The mother sets her sewing aside and adjusts a blanket over them. She pauses a moment, watching. The sunlight catches their faces, soft and peaceful. And for a second, the whole house feels perfectly still. The kind of stillness that only exists between chores and dreams. Outside, the day continues. The wood fireman calls down the lane, the well creaks, a neighbor laughs. But inside, the world holds its breath. The only movement comes from the paper door, swaying slightly with the wind. Time slows here. You can almost hear it ticking between the quiet, the slow pulse of a home at peace. After a while, the mother returns to her sewing. Each stitch is slow, even, gentle. She hums again. Not a song anyone knows, just a tune that keeps her company. The sound drifts through the room, over the sleeping children, out through the open door. By the time the children are awake again, the street outside has become livelier. The Merchant's Road, narrow, dusty, and full of quiet activity, hums with the rhythm of everyday trade.
It's not noisy, not crowded like the great markets of Edo Castle City, but steady. Like a song you've heard so many times, you start humming without realizing it. Each shop on the street has its own smell, its own little world. The rice shop smells faintly warm, like steam and straw. The shopkeeper, an old man with a calm face, sits behind the counter weighing out portions of white grains into square wooden boxes. Each scoop sounds soft, like sand sliding. Across the way is the tofu seller again, his slow chant floating through the air. He always calls the same way, every morning, and somehow it never feels repetitive. Maybe that's because everyone counts on it, that familiar voice, that slow, drifting tune. It's one of the sounds that holds the street together. Tofu, oh! His cart creaks softly, the buckets gleaming white inside. A few neighbors come out with bowls to buy some. Coins clink, bows are exchanged, and soon the cart moves on. A woman selling vegetables sets out her morning harvest. Green onions, daikon, a few shiny eggplants. The colors are soft, earthy. Nothing is bright or perfect, just real, grown a few miles away, carried by hand. She waves to another woman, her friend from the tea shop next door. They talk for a while, not really saying much, just about the weather, about someone's son who's growing fast, about how time moves strangely, slow some days, too quick on others. It's one of the sounds that holds the street together. Farther down, a paper goods shop stands half in shade. Inside, sheets of washi paper hang in delicate rows, pale as morning clouds. The owner, a quiet man with ink-stained fingers, trims a fresh sheet with careful strokes. The smell of the ink mixes with the faint sweetness of glue and starch. A few customers browse, running their hands lightly across the paper, whispering to each other about which one feels smoother. One man leaves with a small roll, probably to copy a poem later tonight, under lamplight. Just beside that is the little toy stall, a favorite for the neighborhood children. The owner, an elderly woman with kind eyes, sits cross-legged on a mat surrounded by small wonders, tiny dolls made of cloth, painted tops, folded paper cranes. She talks gently to the children who stop by, telling each one the story behind a toy. This one, she says, holding up a spinning top, was made from leftover sandalwood. It still smells faintly of the forest. The children nod seriously, taking in this important information. One of them buys it for a single coin, bows deeply, and runs off to test it in the dust. The old woman smiles, shaking her head. She's seen this scene 1,000 times, and it never grows old. Further along the street, the air grows warmer. You can smell soy glaze and roasted grains. A snack vendor sits by a small brazier, turning skewers of dumplings slowly. The glaze bubbles, shiny and golden. A customer stops, watching. "How many?" the vendor asks. "Just one. I'm saving room for dinner," the man replies. The vendor nods, half amused. Everyone says that. He hands over a steaming skewer anyway. The man takes a slow bite, the smell of roasted rice flour mixing with the faint smoke. The vendor smiles. He's not in a hurry to sell out. No one is, really. In this part of town, the day moves gently, and so do the people. Across the street, a tea house door slides open. Inside, it's cool and shadowed. The air smells of tatami and roasted tea leaves. Customers sit quietly on low benches, talking in low voices, sipping from simple ceramic cups. The tea house owner moves silently between tables, her sleeves brushing softly as she pours refills. The sound of liquid pouring, slow and steady, fills the space. Sometimes travelers stop here, resting for a while, before continuing. They leave behind a few coins, a few quiet words, and the gentle warmth of shared time. Outside, the street's tempo doesn't change. The shopkeepers talk softly, the children play near the well, and a stray dog naps in a patch of sunlight, tail flicking lazily every few minutes. Everything here seems ordinary, so ordinary that if you stayed too long, you might forget what hurry ever felt like. By late afternoon, the light begins to soften. The shadows stretch across the road like old fabric. A few shops start to close, pulling down their sliding doors with wooden clacks. The last customers hurry to finish their errands, and the vegetable lady packs up her unsold greens for tomorrow. The air smells faintly of evening, that mix of smoke, soy, and earth. A man lights the lanterns outside his shop, one by one. The paper glows softly orange, their light catching on the dust in the air. It's the kind of glow that makes everything look like a memory, even while you're still standing in it. The tofu man passes again, one last time, slower now. Tofu, oh. His voice drifts through the half-dark street like a lullaby.
When the day begins to fade and the work and chatter of the merchant street grow still, another rhythm quietly starts, the gentle, steamy rhythm of the neighborhood bathhouse. The air outside cools, carrying the faint smell of wood smoke and soap. Lanterns flicker in the dusk, and the path to the bathhouse glows with a kind of soft welcome. In the Edo period, homes didn't have private baths, so when the day's work was done, families gathered what they needed, a small towel, a change of clothes, and made their slow walk to the sento, the public bath. It was not a chore, it was a pause, a way to rinse off not just dust, but the day itself. The bathhouse stands simple and wooden, its roof curved slightly like folded paper. Steam slips lazily from the vents. Inside, you can already hear laughter, low, unhurried, mixed with the sound of splashing water. The man at the counter greets each visitor with a nod. He's seen every face in the neighborhood, every evening for years. He doesn't say much anymore, just smiles and points them to the left or right, men's or women's side. Inside, shoes are neatly lined up. Tatami mats wade underfoot, soft and warm. The air smells faintly of cedar and soap. There's a hum of contentment here. No one in a rush, no one trying to impress. A mother helps her daughter untie her sash, while two old friends sit nearby, talking quietly about small things. A change in the weather, a new baby down the street, a rumor about higher rice prices. None of it sounds urgent, just life passing in small ripples. The changing room is dim, lit by paper lanterns that make everything golden. A man folds his towel with careful precision, as if it's part of the ritual. Another hums softly while removing his wooden hairpin. Everything moves at the same slow pace, steady, unbothered. When they step into the bath area, the warmth greets them like an embrace. Steam fills the room in slow curling waves. The wooden walls glisten, the surface of the water glowing faintly in the lantern light. The sound is gentle, water pouring, feet shuffling, quiet sighs of relief. There are no mirrors, no vanity, just the basics, a stool, a wooden bucket, and a bar of soap. People scrub quietly, methodically, like they've done every day of their lives. A father helps his small son rinse off, careful not to splash too much. The boy laughs anyway, sending a spray of warm water across the floor. The father sighs, half amused. "You'll flood the place one day," he says. The boy grins. "Then we can swim." Nearby, an old man chuckles. "When I was your age, we had to heat water ourselves, with firewood. By the time it was ready, the water was already half cold." The boy blinks, unsure if that's true, but nods politely anyway.
After washing, people move slowly into the main bath. The water here is hot, not burning, but deep, wrapping warmth that seeps into every muscle. A few quiet sighs fill the air as each person sinks in. No one talks loudly. They just sit, neck deep in steam, eyes half closed. The light flickers gently across the surface, turning everything golden and hazy. Some lean back against the wooden edge, tracing lazy circles on the water. Others close their eyes and simply listen to the slow drip from the ceiling, to the faint creak of wood, to the faraway sound of the night outside. It's peaceful in a way few things are anymore. No rush, no noise, no thought of what comes next. And slowly, the gentle rhythm of the night settles in around them. In the women's section, the atmosphere is the same but softer still. Laughter rises in quiet bursts, mingling with the sound of towels wrung out and children splashing. Two old women gossip in hushed tones. They say the samurai district has new lanterns, one says. Too bright, replies the other. Makes it hard to see the stars. They both laugh quietly. The child beside them looks up curiously. You can't see stars in the bathhouse anyway, she says, matter-of-factly. The women nod in mock seriousness. That's true. We'll have to write a complaint. After the bath, everyone moves back to the dressing room. Skin pink and fresh, hair damp, they sit for a moment before dressing. The feeling is always the same, light, loose, clean. Someone pours a cup of barley tea from a clay pot, the steam curling into the cool air. The sound of sipping fills the quiet. A few people talk in low voices, planning tomorrow's errands or sharing small jokes. Others simply sit, staring at nothing in particular. The world outside can wait a little longer. When they finally step out, the night air greets them cool and sweet. The scent of pine smoke drifts from nearby homes, and somewhere a shamisen plays faintly. The children yawn, clutching their mother's sleeves. The fathers stretch, their faces relaxed. Everyone walks home at an unhurried pace, their sandals tapping quietly on the path, leaving small wet prints that fade before the next corner.
By the time the last rays of sunlight slip behind the tiled rooftops, Edo has begun to exhale. The city that woke with roosters now slows with the lanterns. Shadows stretch long across the narrow lanes. The air cools and carries a different scent, faint smoke, warm rice, and the first hints of night. The day's work is finished. The stalls are closed, shutters pulled down, brooms leaned neatly against doorways. Even the dogs seem quieter now, curling up near doorsteps where the air still holds a little warmth from the afternoon sun. Inside one small house, the family gathers near the hearth. The father, freshly bathed, sits cross-legged, mending a bit of straw sandal with quiet focus. The mother stirs rice in a clay pot, the steam rising like a soft veil. The children, still sleepy from their bath, sit nearby with heavy eyes. The smell of dinner fills the room. Soy, miso, the faint sweetness of daikon simmered slowly. It's not a feast, just an ordinary meal. But somehow, in the calm of night, it feels like a ceremony. Bowls are passed, chopsticks click softly, and everyone eats without hurry. The only conversation comes in small pieces, a question about tomorrow, a story from the street, a reminder to hang the laundry early before the sun gets too hot. When the rice is nearly gone, the mother leans back and sighs softly. Another day done, the father nods, and another one waiting. The children are half asleep now, one resting against the other. The mother brushes a strand of hair from the younger one's face and whispers, "Don't fall asleep yet, we still have our story." In Edo homes, night was never silent. There were always small sounds, a kettle settling as it cooled,
the creak of wood, the hum of a passing breeze through paper doors. But there was also storytelling, the gentle heartbeat of the household before bed. The father clears his throat and begins one. His voice is low, steady, a little rough from the day. It's not a grand tale, just a quiet one about a farmer who tried to grow melons too early in spring. He tells how the farmer built a shelter for them, how he worried over each sprout, and how one night a curious fox stole in and curled up among the plants for warmth. The children smile sleepily. "Did the farmer get angry?" the older one asks. "No," says the father, eyes half closed. He realized the fox needed the warmth more than he did, so he left it be. The younger one giggles softly. "Then maybe the fox grew melons too," the father chuckles. "Maybe it did." The story ends quietly, as if it never really needed an ending. The children don't notice. They've already begun to drift. Outside, the street glows faintly with paper lanterns. Each one sways gently, throwing warm light across wooden doors and cobblestones. The air hums with crickets, the occasional footstep, and a distant splash from someone rinsing a bucket at the well. A man carrying a basket of charcoal passes by, singing softly to himself. His voice rises and falls, blending with the night. Farther away, a shamisen plucks a slow tune, its notes floating like small boats through the air. At the corner, the watchman begins his rounds. He carries a wooden clapper, hirshigi, and clicks it twice as he walks. Kotsu kotsu. The sound drifts through the dark, steady and reassuring. It means all is well. Children half asleep in their futons hear it and feel safe. It's a promise in sound form that someone is still awake, keeping watch. Inside, the family has finished cleaning up. The fire is low now, just faint red coals glowing in the hearth. The mother folds the futons, spreads them carefully over the tatami, smoothing each one with her palm. The father snuffs the lamp, leaving only the lantern by the window. The paper glows softly, just enough light to see the outlines of their faces. The cat jumps silently onto a folded blanket, curling into a perfect circle. Outside, the moon rises, pale, half hidden behind thin clouds. The mother whispers something, not a prayer, not a wish, just a thought. "Tomorrow will be kind, I think." The father murmurs, half asleep. It usually is. For a few moments, no one speaks. The only sounds are the faint rustle of fabric, the sigh of the night air through the slatted door. In another house down the street, an old man sits alone, writing by lamplight. His brush moves slowly, across the paper, deliberate, steady strokes. He pauses often, listening to the quiet. He's not writing a letter or a poem, just notes, the kind of small observations only a quiet night allows. He writes, "The moon tonight is thin but clear. The street smells of rain, though it hasn't fallen. A child laughed near the well. It reminded me of something I've forgotten." He lays down his brush and smiles faintly, satisfied. Then he blows out the lamp, and the room returns to darkness. Before most of Edo even wakes, another world has already begun to stir. Long before the tofu man calls, before the tea boils, before the sun fully lifts, the craftsmen are awake. Their mornings are quiet but full of purpose. The city's heartbeat begins in their hands. The streets are still half dark. Mist hangs low, soft and silver, curling around the rooftops. Lanterns flicker faintly in a few workshops,
glowing like sleepy fireflies. The sound of footsteps echoes on the empty road, wooden clogs tapping slowly toward the first open door. Inside, the smell of sawdust and smoke already fills the air. A carpenter sits cross-legged on the floor, planing a board with long, smooth strokes. The shavings curl up like ribbons, light enough to float. He pauses every so often to run his hand over the wood, feeling for imperfections. The wood is cedar, pale, soft, with a smell that never quite leaves your hands. He doesn't rush. No one does. The rhythm of his work is steady, patient. Outside, the first hint of gold touches the horizon. The workshop glows with that early kind of light, the kind that makes everything look simple and true. Next door, a potter is already at his wheel. The clay moves under his fingers like something alive, slow, turning, responding. The wheel hums, low and rhythmic. A kettle steams in the corner, forgotten, but somehow always ready. He doesn't speak. There's no one to speak to yet. The city is still half asleep, and the silence feels like company. Each movement is practiced. He shapes the lip of a bowl, smooths the base, lets his fingers find the right curve by instinct. There's no sketch, no measurement, just trust built over years of mornings like this. The bowl will hold soup or tea, or maybe just air for now. He doesn't know who'll buy it or where it will end up, but that's never really been the point. His job is to make something honest, useful, and calm. A blacksmith's forge flickers to life at the edge of the district. The air here smells sharper, iron and smoke. Sparks rise like tiny stars, vanishing before they touch the ground. The blacksmith moves slowly, like a man who's done the same dance every morning of his life. The hammer comes down, steady and sure. Not violent, just precise. Each strike feels measured, almost polite. He's not making swords. That was a different kind of workshop. He's making the small, humble things. Nails, hinges, cooking knives, the bones of daily life. He wipes his forehead with the back of his arm and smiles faintly. The firelight catches in his eyes. Outside, a rooster calls late as usual. "Even the rooster is lazy today," he murmurs, and the apprentice laughs softly. Further down, the lacquerware craftsman begins his work. He sits near an open door where the air moves slowly, mixing the smell of sap and ash. Before him are small bowls and boxes, each one coated with layers of lacquer so thin you can almost see through them. He brushes on another coat, slow as breathing. Each layer must dry completely before the next. Some pieces take weeks, not because they're difficult, but because they demand patience. He hums quietly as he works, a tune without words, just the rhythm of brush and breath. The lacquer shines softly, catching the morning light. Not bright, more like moonlight trapped in wood. As the sun climbs higher, more workshops open. A papermaker begins pounding pulp in a wooden tub. A sandal maker threads new straw through worn soles. A bamboo weaver tightens the rim of a basket, checking for evenness. Each small trade hums along, filling the morning air with quiet rhythm. No shouting, no rush, just the slow orchestra of work. In the distance, a child's laughter echoes, maybe a son bringing breakfast rice to his father's shop. He pauses at the doorway, watching the work. "Why do you do it every day?" the boy asks. The carpenter looks up, smiling, "Because the wood keeps growing." The boy frowns, puzzled, then nods as if it makes perfect sense. By mid-morning, the mist has lifted. The workshops are brighter now. People pass by, neighbors, customers, travelers, each greeting with small bows. "Good morning." "Good work today." "Good work tomorrow, too." It's the kind of politeness that feels like prayer. The blacksmith dips an iron piece into water. Steam rises, soft and white. He leans back,
stretching his shoulders. The carpenter sets down his plane, wipes the shavings from his sleeve, and pours tea into a small cup. The potter stands outside his door, hands still streaked with clay, watching the street as if it's part of his craft, too.
The day has properly begun. Edo's markets are waking up, slow at first, then alive with sound. But not the kind of noise that overwhelms you. It's more like a gentle hum, the city breathing, stretching, beginning to move. The market sits near a canal, where boats slide in quietly from the countryside. The air smells of river water, steamed rice, and new vegetables still cool from the fields. A few traders squat near the water's edge, tying their boats to wooden posts. They speak softly, but their laughter rolls across the still air like music. On land, the narrow streets are lined with small stalls made of bamboo and cloth. Each one looks the same, and yet each one has its own tiny world, a family, a trade, a story. A woman unrolls a mat and begins stacking radishes in careful rows. The white bulbs gleam like polished stones. Next to her, a man pours rice from a sack into wooden bins, the grains whispering as they fall. The smell of soy sauce drifts through the air, mixing with grilled fish and damp straw. It's not unpleasant. It's the smell of a place that feeds people, simple, honest, and familiar. A merchant walks past, balancing a tray of pickled vegetables. His robe is neat but plain, tied tightly at the waist. He calls out in a gentle, sing-song tone, "Pickles! Fresh pickles!" The words are not shouted, just enough to carry over the murmur of the crowd. Children run by, laughing, one nearly tripping over a bucket. Their mother scolds them quietly, but she's smiling. She buys a small fish wrapped in paper, pays in copper coins, and moves on. A tea vendor sets out small cups on a wooden board. The cups steam gently, their scent warm and grassy. He pours tea for anyone who stops, customers, travelers, even a dog seller passing by with 2 sleepy pups in a basket. They talk about the weather, always the weather. "It'll rain by evening," someone says. Another shakes his head. "The wind's from the north, clear skies." It doesn't matter who's right. What matters is the conversation, slow and easy, like the flow of the canal beside them. Further down, the rice stalls form the heart of the market. Rice isn't just food, it's life, money, status, and comfort all in one. Men in short coats haul heavy sacks from carts, stacking them neatly like bricks. The grains slip between their fingers as they measure, weigh, and nod approvingly. A customer inspects a handful, pale, perfect grains, clean and firm. He says nothing, but his expression softens a little. He nods once, and the deal is made. No shouting, no bargaining war, just trust, quiet and simple. Behind the stalls, small food shops open their doors. Steam rises from pots of miso soup. Someone grills skewers of eel, the smoke curling into the sky like a lazy thought. A boy stands near the corner, turning rice cakes on a small brazier, humming to himself. It's not the smell of feast, it's the smell of morning. A vendor selling paper fans arranges them on his table. Each fan is hand-painted. Waves, flowers, sometimes a single brushstroke of ink. They flutter slightly in the breeze, whispering together, like they're gossiping about the weather too. A passerby stops, picks one up, opens it slowly. The fan creaks softly. He buys it, tucks it into his belt, and bows his thanks. The vendor bows too. No words needed.
Nearby, a storyteller unrolls a small illustrated scroll. He clears his throat, then begins. Not loudly, not for drama, but gently, as if telling a secret. His voice weaves tales of travelers, ghosts, and kind-hearted merchants. A few listeners gather, smiling sleepily, enjoying the sound more than the story itself. Mind Began had reached its calmest rhythm. Everyone's busy, but no one seems rushed. Even the dogs nap beside their owners' stalls, tails twitching at the occasional sound of a fish dropping. The sun has climbed higher, and the light turns everything soft. The straw roofs, the hanging cloth signs, the rippling surface of the canal. It feels almost like time has slowed down to match the people. There's no hurry. Everything important will happen, eventually. A samurai passes through the crowd, his presence quiet but unmistakable. People bow slightly, then go back to their work. He's not here for authority, maybe just to buy rice or watch the morning unfold. Even the samurai must eat. A few monks walk by too, carrying empty bowls. Vendors offer them small pieces of food, a rice ball, a bit of tofu, a nod of respect. The monks bow in silence and continue down the street, the sound of their sandals fading slowly away. By midday, the market begins to thin. The early bustle fades into the quiet lull of the afternoon. Stalls close one by one. The vendors stretch their backs, count their coins, and pack their goods. The smell of soy and smoke drifts upward, mixing with the faint salt of the canal. A woman sweeps the ground with a straw broom, tracing slow arcs in the dust. The rhythm of her sweeping matches the beat of the city's pulse, calm, steady, endless.
Evening in Edo carries a rhythm all its own. The streets are quieter now. Lanterns sway gently, casting long shadows across wooden doors and stone paths. And for many, the day's last quiet ritual awaits, the bathhouse. The sento stands modestly at the edge of the neighborhood, steam curling from the roof like wisps of gentle fog. Inside, the air is warm and fragrant, carrying hints of cedar, ash, and the faint tang of minerals in the water. The bathhouse isn't just a place to wash, it's a place to rest, to gossip, and to watch the day's edges dissolve. Shoes are left neatly by the entrance. Towels are unrolled with care. Even in the small rituals of undressing, there's calm, a reminder that this is a time for oneself. A mother guides her children through the entrance, their small hands clutching towels like treasures. The father has already begun his slow routine, washing carefully with a wooden bucket, the sound of water echoing gently off the walls. Each movement is deliberate, a kind of meditation in soap and warm water. Nearby, two elderly women sit on low stools, dipping their hands into steaming water. Their conversation is quiet, punctuated with soft laughter. "The young ones today," says one, "they do not know patience. They grow too fast. Soon they will run the world." The children listen for a moment, fascinated, then return to their small splashes. The women smile, letting them play. At the center of the bath, a group of men sits neck-deep in steaming water. The heat rises slowly, fogging the room, softening the edges of reality. Some talk quietly of rice prices, others of distant villages and small household concerns. No one shouts, no one rushes. Even the most mundane news carries weight in the hush of the steam. One man leans back, letting the water warm his shoulders. "You feel it?" he says softly to his friend.
The day is gone and the evening waits. His friend nods. And tomorrow will come anyway. No need to hurry. Soft brush of cloth, water dripping into wooden tubs. The bathhouse also holds small joys. The smell of soap, the sound of slippers scuffing lightly across wet floors, the occasional cat curling up in a corner outside the window. A child presses their small face to the glass, watching the steam rise, mesmerized. For a moment, the world outside seems distant and unimportant. A young vendor, freshly finished with his day at the market, arrives quietly. He washes slowly, enjoying the warmth as a reward for a morning of hauling rice and vegetables. The sound of water pouring over his hands, the low hum of the bathhouse, the soft laughter of children nearby. It all blends into a lullaby of ordinary life. Soft water trickling, faint humming, occasional small laughter. In a side room, women finish washing and step into the main pool. The water is still warm, inviting. The youngest child sits beside their mother, watching as the women gossip softly, commenting on neighbors, their sons, and the little events of the day. Even gossip in Edo is quiet. It never intrudes, never rises into anger. It drifts like tea steam, warm and aromatic. Did you see the new lanterns at the temple? Too bright. It makes it hard to see the stars. A small laugh escapes both, and the children smile sleepily. Soft footsteps, gentle clink of a ladle. Some visitors come and go. A traveling monk stopping for warmth, an older couple returning home after shopping. Each person follows the same slow rhythm. Wash, soak, rest, leave. The day's dust and worries melt into the water, leaving only quiet contentment. Occasionally, someone hums softly. A tune without words, floating over the surface like tiny paper boats on still water. It's contagious, gentle. Soon the entire bathhouse carries a soft chorus of unplanned, peaceful music. Near the door, a small window lets in the last light of evening. It's pale, silver, brushing the steam and wooden beams. Outside, the street is almost empty, the lanterns glowing faintly. The air smells faintly of pine and cooking fires. Inside, a father rinses his son one last time. The boy shivers, then smiles. "Do I have to leave now?" he asks quietly. "Yes," the father says, "but we'll come again tomorrow." And the boy nods, satisfied. He knows tomorrow will be another quiet morning of water, warmth, and soft stories. Soft water dripping, slow exhale. After the bath, people wrap themselves in towels and robes. They sit for a moment, sipping barley tea or cool water, letting the warmth linger. The children lean against their parents, eyes heavy with sleep. The adults share soft words, a hand on a shoulder, a nod of comfort. When they step out, the night is fully settled. The lanterns glow along the street. The crickets have begun their chorus. The air smells faintly of water, earth, and the evening meal waiting at home. Soft night insets, lanterns swaying gently.
As the bathhouse empties and lanterns sway in the gentle night breeze, Edo's homes fill with another familiar rhythm, the evening meal. Not grand, not flashy, just ordinary food shared quietly by families winding down. The streets are calm. The air carries the scent of wood smoke and warm rice. You could almost follow the aroma from house to house, tracing the gentle heartbeat of Edo itself. Inside a small home, a mother sits near the hearth, tending a clay pot where rice steams slowly. The rice smells faintly sweet, the steam curling upward in lazy spirals. Beside it, a bowl of miso soup simmers, rich with the scent of konbu and tofu. A small plate of pickled vegetables waits quietly, simple in color and shape. The children sit cross-legged, watching the steam rise and swirl. They don't say much. They're already sleepy from the day's walks, baths, and small adventures. Instead, they inhale the smells of home, the comfort of familiarity, the warmth that fills the air as much as the fire. Soft bubbling, faint chopstick tapping. The father returns from his final errands, carrying a small bundle, maybe fresh fish, maybe a piece of fruit from the market. He greets his family with a nod, a low voice wishing everyone well. No fanfare, no hurry, just presence. Bowls are passed carefully from hand to hand. Rice is scooped, soup poured, chopsticks tapped gently against wood. The family eats slowly, savoring each bite, not because it's a feast, but because it is calm, and they can. A child drops a small piece of vegetable. The mother sighs softly, but a smile tugs at her lips. "Tomorrow you'll do better," she says. The child nods, embarrassed but content, already distracted by a steam curl from the soup. Soft laughter, faint clinking of bowls. In another home, the father reads aloud from a small book of poems. His voice is low, almost a hum. The children lean close, listening not because they understand every word, but because the sound itself is comforting. Even the cat, curled on the tatami, twitches its ears to follow the story. Wind rustling paper doors, faint coo of evening birds. The food itself is humble. Rice, miso, pickles, maybe a small grilled fish. But it carries warmth and care. It's the slow reward of the day's labor, the kind of nourishment that feeds both body and spirit. The mother adds a small condiment, arranging slices of pickled radish in neat rows. She looks at her children and nods, satisfied. The father leans back slightly, wiping his hands. The children finish their rice, smacking their lips softly. It's a quiet chorus, the sounds of ordinary life. No rush, no chaos, just calm presence. Across the street, another family sits together. The father carves a small piece of simmered fish, careful not to waste any. The mother passes the rice bowl to the youngest, who nods with sleepy focus. Even the dog sits nearby, waiting for a dropped morsel, patient and still. The neighbors might exchange soft greetings across the fence. "Dinner smells good tonight." "Ah, you made miso with fresh tofu." And then they return to their meals, voices soft, respectful, ordinary. Soft fire crackle, faint chopstick tapping rhythmically. In some homes, lanterns hang above the table, their light warm and steady. Shadows dance on the walls, moving gently with the sway of each person's hand. The world outside, the streets, the markets, the river, seems distant, muted, like it belongs to another life. Here, in the small, quiet rooms, time slows. Every bite of rice, every sip of soup, every shared glance between family members stretches into a calm, meditative moment. A child yawns and leans against a sibling. The father laughs quietly, covering his mouth. "Already sleepy?" he murmurs. "Yes," the child whispers. "Good," the father says softly. "Tomorrow will come soon enough."
Soft wind brushing through paper doors. Faint cricket song. After the meal, the dishes are cleaned quietly. The mother soaks bowls in warm water. The father wipes down the wooden table. Even the children help, small hands careful and deliberate. Nothing is hurried. Everything is done slowly, mindfully. The rhythm itself is soothing, a gentle lull that carries everyone toward night. The smell of warm rice lingers, the faint scent of miso hangs in the air, and the faint glow of lanterns softens edges. It's the smell of calm. It's the taste of ordinary life, made extraordinary by care. Soft sighs. Distant sound of wind through trees. As the family settles near the hearth, the day's work and errands dissolve. The children fold their hands, readying for sleep. The parents share a quiet glance, the kind that says, "We did well today. Tomorrow will be gentle too." A cat curls up beside the fire. A lantern flickers. The room is warm, soft, and perfectly still. Even outside, the city moves slowly. Lanterns glow along the streets. Shadows stretch lazily across rooftops. Edo breathes, gently, patiently, full of the quiet comfort of home.
When the evening meals have ended and the lanterns glow softly in every home, Edo takes a slow, deep breath. The streets are quiet now, alive only with the softest sounds. Footsteps on cobblestones, the occasional creak of a door, the faint rustle of leaves in the wind. Night in Edo is not empty. It is calm, steady, and full of little details that most people never notice. The lanterns sway gently over the streets, casting pools of warm light on the wooden walkways. Shadows stretch and twist across doors and rooftops, forming patterns that move slowly with the night breeze. A gentle glow seeps from windows, hinting at families tucked into futons, children yawning, parents sharing quiet words. A lone traveler might pass through, sandals tapping softly, carrying a small bundle of goods. He moves slowly, politely nodding to anyone he meets. No shouting, no rush, just the gentle rhythm of someone making their way through the darkened city. Nearby, a merchant sweeps the wooden threshold of his closed stall. The broom strokes are slow, measured, soothing. The sound of straw brushing wood blends with the faint trickle of water from the canal and the hum of distant crickets. Along the canal, the water reflects the lanterns above, glowing like soft, warm stars. A fisherman leans against his boat, watching the reflection ripple as a gentle breeze passes. He does not speak. He does not need to. The quiet itself is company. A cat prowls nearby, tail curling, ears twitching at the smallest sound. It pauses to peer into a shop window, then continues, moving like a shadow made of silk. Occasionally, you might hear a low, polite conversation between neighbors. "Good evening," one whispers. "Evening," the other replies softly. And that is all. The night in Edo is full of these small exchanges, greetings, nods, polite acknowledgments. Nothing is loud or hurried. It is the language of people who understand patience, who savor the stillness between activity. In some homes, a parent might step outside briefly to check the street or close a window. The lantern light glows on their face, highlighting calm eyes, tired but content. They watch a child peer sleepily from a window, or the faint shimmer of steam rising from an evening meal left to cool. A samurai might walk past silently, sword at his side. People bow, not in fear,
but as a gentle nod of recognition. Even the presence of authority in Edo is soft, respectful, unobtrusive at night. A solitary figure leans on the railing, watching, listening. Maybe he is a poet, maybe a craftsman returning home, or maybe just a citizen enjoying the calm. Whatever the reason, he does not hurry. He allows the night to move slowly around him, to stretch, to breathe. In quiet alleyways, shadows gather but do not frighten. The faint scent of incense drifts from a small temple. A monk passes by, barefoot, carrying a lantern. He hums a soft tune, a song without words, just a rhythm of evening calm. The sound drifts over the street like a soft veil. Even stray dogs pause and listen for a moment, their tails still. The city bends itself to the gentle pace of night, everything slowing in unison. Some wanderers stroll slowly, taking in the beauty of quiet Edo streets. Perhaps a young woman on her way home from visiting a neighbor. Perhaps an old man returning from a bathhouse, contented, relaxed. They pause under a lantern, adjusting their kimono, taking in the soft glow, the cool night air. No one speaks loudly, no one rushes. Every step, every breath is deliberate. The night itself feels alive, as if the city itself is breathing softly through the narrow lanes. A few shops still glow faintly, preparing for the next day. A potter wipes clay from his hands one last time. A sandal maker stacks straw carefully. The smells of wood, clay, and warm earth mingle in the cool night air. Even the market stalls, empty now, seem to hum gently with memory of the day's rice, miso, laughter, and quiet labor.
Long after the streets of Edo have quieted and the lanterns glow softly in every home, another rhythm begins, the late-night ritual of tea and quiet reflection. It is a time when the household slows even further, and the day's small details are savored, considered, and let go. The hearth glows warmly, casting soft shadows across the tatami mats. The smell of last night's fire lingers vaguely, mixed with the gentle aroma of tea leaves steeping in water. Outside, the wind brushes against the paper walls. Inside, the family gathers, just a few of them awake now, sharing a quiet moment before sleep claims everyone. A mother pours water slowly over the tea leaves, letting the liquid darken gently in the small clay pot. The steam rises in delicate spirals, curling like thoughts drifting lazily through the air. The tea is not sweet, not strong, just warm and soothing, enough to hold the chill of night at bay. The children, though sleepy, watch carefully, learning the careful art of preparing tea, even if they are not old enough to pour for themselves yet. The father sits nearby, folding his hands and watching the fire, letting the moment stretch. No one speaks unless necessary. The silence itself carries comfort. Stories are part of this quiet ritual, not exciting tales of heroes or battles, but small, gentle stories that drift along like smoke. The father might speak of a clever fox he saw near the market last spring, or a neighbor's child who learned to balance a basket of rice on their head. The mother may recount a small lesson from her day, how the morning light fell just so on the garden, or how a sparrow perched for a long moment on the fence before flying away. The children listen, half awake, half dreaming. They do not question the importance of the tales. They are content simply to hear them, let the words flow over them like a gentle lullaby. A cat curls beside the hearth, its tail flickering lazily. Its breathing matches the rhythm of the room. Outside, a lone lantern sways gently, throwing soft shadows across the wooden floor.
The tea is passed, cup to cup, slowly, reverently. A sip is taken. The warmth spreads through the body, through the mind, through the quiet. It is more than a drink. It is a pause, a breath, a moment to recognize that the day is over and the night is here to cradle you gently. A mother pours water slowly over the tea leaves, letting the liquid darken gently in the small clay pot. The steam rises in delicate spirals, curling like thoughts drifting lazily through the air. The tea is not sweet, not strong, just warm and soothing, enough to hold the chill of night at bay. Stories are part of this quiet ritual, not exciting tales of heroes or battles, but small, gentle stories that drift along like smoke. The father might speak of a clever fox he saw near the market last spring, or a neighbor's child who learned to balance a basket of rice on their head. The mother may recount a small lesson from her day, how the morning light fell just so on the garden, or how a sparrow perched for a long moment on the fence before flying away. The children listen, half awake, half dreaming. They do not question the importance of the tales. They are content simply to hear them, let the words flow over them like a gentle lullaby. A cat curls beside the hearth, its tail flickering lazily. Its breathing matches the rhythm of the room. Outside, a lone lantern sways gently, throwing soft shadows across the wooden floor. The tea is passed, cup to cup, slowly, reverently. A sip is taken. The warmth spreads through the body, through the mind, through the quiet. It is more than a drink. It is a pause, a breath, a moment to recognize that the day is over and the night is here to cradle you gently. Sometimes the family will write small notes or sketches, a child's drawing of the morning, a short poem on a scrap of paper, a note of gratitude tucked under a bowl. It is not for anyone else, only for themselves, only for the small comfort of marking the day. Even these tiny acts are part of the meditation of night. A father may adjust the lantern, turning it so the light falls evenly across the room. The mother folds the cloth napkins carefully, setting them aside. Even the mundane becomes deliberate, thoughtful, and calm. The night air carries the faintest scent of tea and wood smoke outside. Some houses may still have the faint murmur of a neighbor preparing for sleep, or the soft steps of someone returning from a quiet errand. The city hums very gently in the background, a soft, unobtrusive chorus to the intimate household rituals inside. Sometimes, late at night, one might hear a lullaby sung quietly, just enough for a small child to feel safe and warm. Other times, the sound is of nothing but wind and the occasional insect, soft enough to drift into dreams. The act of reflection can be simple. The father may glance around the room and smile faintly at his family, noticing the small gestures, a hand reaching for a cup, a foot brushing the tatami, a hair falling across a child's sleepy forehead. The mother might adjust a pillow or stroke the child's cheek. The children, eyes heavy, yawn and rest their heads. No words are necessary beyond soft acknowledgments, gentle gestures, and quiet laughter when something small amuses them. A final cup of tea is poured, held, and sipped. The warmth lingers, a reminder of the day's work, the safety of home, and the small, ordinary pleasures of life. The hearth glows low now, embers soft and red. Lanterns sway gently, shadows stretching lazily across the walls. Outside, the night is deep, carrying the scent of pine, earth, and distant water. The family leans back, content. They breathe slowly. They feel the rhythm of the city and their home, calm, steady, and familiar. And then, one by one, eyes close, the teacup is set aside. The stories are finished. The hearth continues to glow softly,
a gentle witness to the night.
And now, the final quiet ritual of Edo's day arrives. The streets are silent. Lanterns glow faintly along the canals, casting soft reflections in the still water. The city exhales, a slow, gentle breath, and the homes prepare for rest. Inside, the family moves with unhurried care. The evening meal has been eaten. The bathhouse visits are complete. Tea has been poured, sipped, and set aside. Now comes the soft, tender act of slipping into futons, tucking away the day, and letting the mind drift into sleep. The futons are spread on the tatami mats, neat rectangles of cloth and cotton, humble but comforting. The mother smooths the sheets with gentle hands, careful not to disturb the warmth that lingers from the day's presence. The father checks the children's bedding, adjusting the small pillows, folding the edges neatly. The children crawl into the futons, yawning, eyes heavy with the day's activities. The small hands clutch a favorite cloth or small toy, a token of comfort as the night wraps around them. They listen to the gentle rhythm of the home, the soft crackle of embers, the faint whir of wind through paper doors, the occasional distant call of a night bird. The parents settle beside them, folding their own futons carefully. No words are necessary. A soft nod, a gentle brush of a hand across a child's shoulder, and everything that needs saying has already been said. The hearth's glow fades slowly, the fire dwindling to embers. The room is warm enough, safe enough, quiet enough to let thoughts drift like soft clouds. Some families whisper a small prayer or recite a brief verse, nothing elaborate, just a word of thanks for the day, a small hope for the next. Others simply close their eyes and breathe. The rhythm of the city, the work of the day, the warmth of home, all converge to cradle the mind toward rest. Outside, the streets are nearly empty. Even the crickets have slowed. The canal glimmers faintly, reflecting the lanterns that sway gently, one last bow before night fully descends. The air smells faintly of rice, wood smoke, and cool evening wind. Inside, the child exhales, soft and content, slipping past the edge of wakefulness. The parent watches, letting the mind follow the gentle flow of the child's breath. Some may dream of the day's events, a morning spent helping in the rice fields, a brief encounter at the market, the warmth of the bathhouse, the taste of tea. Others simply drift, letting the mind wander without direction, floating through shapes and colors, a tapestry woven from quiet moments and gentle sounds. Even dreams in Edo were small, careful, slow. No grand battles or storms, just the soft echo of ordinary life, made extraordinary by attention and calm. The city itself sleeps slowly. A lone lantern sways in the street, casting its reflection in the water. The wind whispers through the trees. The distant mountains are dark and still, and the river flows quietly, carrying the day's memories into the night. Inside the home, the parents close their eyes. The children breathe evenly. Even the cat, still curled beside the hearth, seems to exhale, soft and full. The rhythm of Edo continues, unnoticed, steady, comforting. And the simple, quiet acts of the day, work, meal, bath, tea, leave behind a gentle residue of calm. Sleep comes slowly at first, then deeper. It gathers in folds, drifts in layers, and finally settles. The city holds its breath in quiet understanding, letting every household rest, every dream unfold, Every life, pause for a while. Tomorrow, the sun will rise. The merchants will return to the market. The craftsmen will shape wood, clay, and metal. The children will laugh and play once more. But tonight is for rest, for quiet, for the simple, meditative joy of ending the day softly.